What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Christmas edition of the Hoopers Lounge today. We are very excited to bring you this episode. We'll be discussing the Christmas Day games as well as reviewing the in-season tournament that, in my opinion, was a huge success this season. I thought it was very exciting and entertaining and very competitive. So that's what you like to see. So we'll be going over all that, and then Alex will give a blind ranking of his favorite Christmas movies at the end. So we'll see how that goes. But just to kick things off, we're going to jump right into the in-season tournament that concluded about a week ago now, with the Knicks victorious in the in-season tournament. And we'll start with the first couple of games there in the East quarterfinals. And Alex, what kind of takeaways did you have from day one of the tournament?
Yeah, so looking at the Eastern side of the bracket, I predicted a Magic Knicks semifinals, and that's what ended up happening. None of the four quarterfinal games were particularly close. The two semifinal games were much more competitive, but it was good basketball. It was competitive basketball. Both teams clearly were playing with a little extra energy, trying to win. Magic coming through with a 9-point victory over the Heat. Looking at the box score, Desmond Bane had 37 points, so Bane has been a big part of the reason for the Magic's resurgence since their slow start. The Magic now sitting at 15 and 10. I think that puts them at third in the Eastern Conference, so fourth, sorry, tied for fourth. So that's right around where the Magic want to be at this point in the year. I'd say they're happy with that. The Heat, they're also sitting at 15 and 10. Or sorry, Magic are 16 and 11 now. Heat are 15 and 10. And the Heat, I'm surprised they're really contending to begin with. Not much to say about the Miami Heat. I think they're happy with the quarterfinals performance in the in-season tourney. Raptors and Knicks. Raptors have been a surprising team to start the year, but I said in our prediction that Karl Anthony Towns was going to suffice as a bit of an X factor in that game because I did not think the Raptors would have enough big men to slow him down. Cat wasn't a great in the scoring department, but he finished the game with 16 rebounds, clearly making his mark in that department, and many of those rebounds were offensive, which providing his team a lot more chances to score. That ended up being the difference in the game. So the Knicks, right, they are rising back up in the Eastern Conference. They are second, 2 games behind the Pistons for the top spot. The Knicks are looking like the championship contenders we expected them to be. Looking at the West, we had the Spurs take down the Lakers 132 to 119. That was Wemby missed that game, I'm pretty sure. The first game he came back was the semifinals against Oklahoma City. But even without Wemby, the Spurs still taking down a healthy Lakers team that had Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves all playing. That's a good look for the Spurs, a good look for their depth, and in a must-win situation, a win or go-home situation like the in-season tourney, for a young team to still show out and perform, it's a very good sign. And then the Thunder versus the Suns. This game I watched live. This game was not a fun game to watch live. Finished 138 to 89. And the game was not even that close. It was disgusting to watch. Devin Booker missed that game, so the Suns had literally zero offense. The Thunder ran a full court pressure all game, and I swear to God, they would steal every other inbounds pass. It was absurd to watch, and it made me think, like, who was stopping this Thunder team? They looked absolutely dominant. It was insane to watch. It looked like me playing against the computer in 2K on rookie difficulty. It was wild. But those are my quarterfinals takeaways.
Yeah, I remember texting you about that Thunder game, and I'd never seen so many inbounds get stolen in this game. So just absolutely insane to see the Thunder like just put a display like that against another team. Devin Booker being out obviously hurts, but I'll start with my Eastern Conference takeaways. I picked the Raptors and the Magic. I picked Toronto solely based because of the home court record and the Knicks struggled to win on the road. But something that we saw throughout the entire tournament was that the Knicks, they rise in the playoffs, or I guess in the play-in, and more particularly Jalen Brunson. He was spectacular in not just the first round game, but in the entire tournament. I thought he raised his level of play, and that was probably the best 3-game stretch he had all season. Like you said, Cat did make his mark in that game with 16 rebounds. That's very impressive as well. And we already touched on Orlando. In the West, I picked the Lakers to win. And something I've been noticing as I did watch the Spurs play in the championship game, and I've been keeping up with them as well, I have decided that in my opinion, Stefan Castle is probably their second best player. Um, he is when he has the ball in his hands, good things happen almost every possession. Like he never makes mistakes, he never turns the ball over, and he always gets his teammates an open shot. I think De'Aaron Fox has been really good for them. Don't get me wrong, but there are times where he turns it over or takes a bad shot. I just feel like Stefan Castle plays almost perfectly, and he keeps reminding me of the guy I compared him to weeks ago, Rajon Rondo. I said that a bunch. He plays just like him. He's just bigger and stronger and more athletic than Rondo. So I think Castle, he gets overshadowed a little bit by how good the rest of the guards are, like Fox and Harper. But I think he used this tournament to separate himself as the second best player on the Spurs. So that was kind of my takeaways from the quarterfinals. And so we'll move on to the semis, where, as Alex said, it was Spurs, Thunder, and Knicks Magic. And we'll start in the game that everyone wants to talk about, and that's the Spurs Thunder game. Probably the best game I watched this year. Absolutely electric. The crowd was into it. It was chippy. Wembanyama returned, which was awesome to see him play in that game. Obviously on a minutes restriction, but still, he was sensational. And you could tell the impact he had on the defensive end of the court was night and day difference than the Spurs, how they play without Wembanyama. It was insane. And I liked that the Spurs coach didn't start Wemby his first game back. I thought that allowed him to kind of come into the game and get his shots up with the bench instead of just taking away shots from the starters, because the Spurs had been very good without Wemby in that couple week span. So I liked that he brought him off the bench for his first game back, and I think they just won a hard-fought, just back-and-forth basketball game. For the Thunder, it's not a terrible loss for me. They lost to a top-5 team in their conference by a couple of points on a neutral site. So I know people were overreacting about the Thunder losing a game, but I'm not too worried about them. I just think they ran into a team that was better on that night.
Yeah, I mean, that is exactly what happened. The Spurs on the night were better. Wemby, like you said, the defensive impact he made, Chet Holmgren looked almost scared to take Wembanyama on when he was on the court. Remember that meme of LeBron James when Kawhi checked back into the finals and LeBron was at the free throw line? He saw Kawhi check and he was like, fuck. That was Chet Holmgren every time he saw Wembanyama check in. Because when Wemby was in, the Oklahoma City Thunder offense, and Holmgren specifically, were stagnant. They were locked up. They couldn't get anything going. I said over the offseason that Wembanyama's defensive impact is the single greatest individual impact in NBA history. And I think it is evident on the court. Without Wembanyama, the Spurs defense is poor. I think it's fair to say it's poor. Luke Kornet does not offer strong rim protection. Castle is probably the only positive defender among their starting 5. But with Wembanyama in, the Spurs defense is top 3 in the league. Just because of one player and just the ground he can cover, the shots that he can take away from the other team. It is incredible to watch. As an NBA fan, as a basketball fan, I have never seen anything like it. And we may never see anything like it again. It is awesome to watch. And I also really like Mitch Johnson's decision to take Wemby off the bench. Like you said, the Spurs have played really good despite his absence. They are currently sitting at second in the West. I didn't realize to pass up the Nuggets, but they are currently second in the West on a 6-game win streak. So, yes, you get your superstar back, but you don't want to take away the strong flow that your team is in. So you bring him off the bench, you let him get his shots up with the 6 through 10 men, while the starting 5, who have played well in his absence, continue to build chemistry together. That's not saying Wemby's going to be better off the bench. Obviously, eventually he's going to be put back in the starting lineup. But right now, the Spurs are in a rhythm, they're in a groove, and I say you stick with it until it lets you down. In terms of the Thunder, yes, I'm not concerned about this individual loss. However, their very next game, they went out and lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves, another team who they're very likely to see in the Western Conference playoffs. I mean, yes, the Thunder are still currently at 25-3. Yes, they're still consensusly the best team in the league. They're favored to win the finals. But we were talking about this Thunder as an all-time great team, and then they go out and lose 2 closely competitive games to teams they're going to see in the playoffs. I think we had to pump the brakes on the Thunder as an all-time team for a little bit, because now not only are they off pace of the 73-9 Warriors, but they're losing games to playoff contenders in games with heightened intensity. And the in-season tournament, an away game against Minnesota, had a playoff-like atmosphere. These are games the Thunder needs to win to show that they are a true contender in the West. The asterisk with the Thunder's great start was, they didn't really play anyone good. And their opposition was weak. In that they're playing strong opposition, they're losing. So that is something to watch. I think we need to halt the brakes on already crowning the Thunder as NBA champions. I think the Western Conference is going to provide us a few more twists and turns throughout the year that we're not expecting.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what makes the West so amazing. Is just, again, whatever team's hot at the end of the year is going to come out of that thing and probably win the NBA championship this year, in my opinion, because whatever team survives the West will be very prepared for anything that the East champion throws at them in the finals. And so, like you said, the Thunder, I agree we need to pump the brakes on them. I've seen people compare them to the 2016 Warriors, and I remember watching that team very vividly. I don't think it would have been close in a 7-game series, personally. And I remember a couple weeks ago when I mentioned the Thunder lack depth, and you kind of laughed at me for that. And I'm just saying that A.J. Mitchell has not been playing as good recently, and the addition of Jalen Williams is good, but I'm worried about guys like Aaron Wiggins, A.J. Mitchell. To an extent, guys like Lou Dort hitting shots every single night is not sustainable, especially when teams play good defense and they bring their level of intensity up, like you mentioned. So for the Thunder, it can't all be Shea and J-Dub and Chet. Like, they're going to need other guys to hit shots, and I felt like in these last 2 losses, they weren't getting that from guys coming off the bench, and I think that was ultimately their downfall.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about the Thunder's depth. I think I have been overrating their depth throughout the year. And with that being said, I think I've also underrated Shea Gilgeous-Alexander throughout the year. I attribute the Thunder's success to their depth more than just the absolutely absurd season that Shea is in the midst of. Just by the way, he's not even in the top 5 right now in free throws attempted per game. So the foul baiting narrative that he somehow has, he's not even the worst in the league when it comes to shooting free throws. But the season Shea's having, the efficiency, the shot making he's showing is levels better than last year when he won the MVP. And as good of a season Jokic is having, I truly think Shea is just competing against himself for the MVP award right now this year.
Yeah, I think it's a close race. But Shea, I think, like you said, he's doing things. He's raising the level of play around him by his teammates by such a high margin while still dropping 30. It's truly remarkable. But let's move on to the East now. The East semifinal, which was the Knicks and the Magic. And there's a theme here that I noticed throughout the Knicks really in-season tournament, and I saw someone else post this on Instagram a couple days ago, is the coaching change between Tom Thibodeau to Mike Brown in the offseason and how this in-season tournament would have looked differently if Thibodeau was the head coach, particularly with the management of the Knicks bench. I truly believe that Mike Brown was the reason why the Knicks won the in-season tournament, and I'll let you know why. Because in previous seasons, I don't think Thibodeau would have trusted Jordan Clarkson and Tyler Kolek with the game on the line against the Spurs and the Magic, particularly. He would have ridden his starting 5 into the ground, played them all 35-plus minutes, and hoped that they made enough plays to win the game. But Mike Brown, being the great coach that he is, and coming from the Warriors, who had a mantra, strength in numbers, for all those years, he understands how important the 6th, 7th, 8th guys are on the bench, and that they can spark comebacks, they can spark wins in big-time moments. So I want to give credit to Mike Brown, because I don't think Thibodeau and old Knicks coaches would have done what he did. Because against the Magic, you had Jalen Brunson dropping 40 points. Now, he did play 38 minutes, but you had Mitchell Robinson with 17 minutes off the bench, Kolek with 15 minutes, Clarkson with 12 minutes. That's in the semifinal. In the final against the Spurs, they played even more minutes than that and played even better. So to trust those guys to play, half the game and still produce, I want to give Mike Brown all the kudos for that. Obviously, Brunson was the star of the tournament, but I think Mike Brown is truly the reason why they were able to hold the trophy at the end of the thing.
Yeah, the coaching in the Knicks is noticeably different than last year. I mean, we were seeing Josh Hart play 47 out of 48 minutes a game throughout the Knicks playoff run last year. And now looking at the semifinal box score, Hart only played 31 minutes, giving a lot more minutes to the guys off the bench who are fresh, who are able to make shots, who are able to complement the starters rather than just put in a fifth guy who is already exhausted. It's, like you said, levels noticeably different. And Mike Brown, I think at this point, should be in contention for Coach of the Year for what he's done with the Knicks. He has turned Thibodeau's weakness into a strength for this team. Depth has become almost the Knicks' calling card to start the year, and it has made them that much more dangerous in an Eastern Conference that looks even more wide open than we thought it was going to be to open the year. So, big win for the Knicks, 12-point win over the Magic, who I thought were going to make the finals. Banchero looked good in the game, putting up 25 points. However, inefficiency from the field, again, is a story behind Banchero because he didn't make a three-pointer in 7 attempts. That is a story of Banchero's entire career thus far. Inefficiency in his jump shots. If he can get that, he will be a superstar. But if he cannot, the Magic will not be anything more than a first-round exit. And this game came without Franz Wagner as he's in the midst of coming back from his injury. So maybe with him in, maybe that would have changed things up. But again, it comes down to Banchero. He's got to step up his game. He's got to step up his ability to make shots outside the paint. Or he's got to be a player who's more willing to drive and get in the paint. Right now, he's neither of those, and it is constantly hurting the Magic.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Franz playing in this game would have changed the outcome just based on how I watched the Knicks play in the finals and the semifinals. I think they were clearly a superior team to the Magic at this point in time. And like you mentioned, the wide open East, I would say after the in-season tournament, the Knicks are probably my favorite to come out of the East and win right now. Obviously, a lot can change, but I look at them with the trust Mike Brown has in the bench, the trust the starters have in the bench to come out there and make plays is something that, frankly, we haven't seen from this Knicks roster. And they also, I believe, OG, did he get hurt in the final or the semifinal? Do you remember?
OG got hurt in the finals against the Spurs.
Okay. So OG was playing against the Magic, but they were without him for most of the game, too, against the Spurs. So once OG comes back fully healthy, I mean, that's another piece that they're going to have to play 25, 30 minutes a night. This Knicks roster is really well put together, and I like their chances in the East coming out of the in-season tournament. I thought they played very good throughout.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only Eastern Conference team that has a lot of playoff experience, aside from maybe the Cavaliers, but the Cavaliers have looked like one of the more disappointing rosters to start the year. So I don't even think they should be talked about in terms of contenders in the East until it's shown otherwise. But the Pistons don't have exactly a ton of playoff experience. They're still a young team on the up. The Celtics, I mean, are we really going to crown them as contenders without Jason Tatum? They look good, but I'm not sure. The Sixers, I mean, Embiid is really the only guy with playoff experience. Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe don't really have relevant playoff experience. The Magic are first-round exits. The Raptors are first-round exits. I mean, looking at the top teams in the East, the Knicks are really the only ones that have gone on a playoff run. And considering that the improved depth that they come into this year with, yeah, I think they're by far and away the favorites to emerge out of the weak Eastern Conference. And they, I mean, I was about to say they have a banner, but James Dolan said they're not going to hang up an in-season tournament banner because they have bigger plans. Now, I don't know how I feel about that because it's not like Madison Square Garden has a ton of banners to begin with. I think you should celebrate the small things, but, you know, to each their own, I guess. The Knicks have bigger plans. They're happy with their win, but they have their sights set on the actual NBA title and not the in-season one. So good for them, I guess, if that's how they want to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and while we're still talking about the Knicks, I just want to touch on the game against the Spurs a little bit. I thought when the Spurs were up, I think 8 to 10 points in the third quarter, I thought that game was over. They were kind of in cruise control, and then Jordan Clarkson was amazing in the second half of that game. He hit like 3 straight threes to bring it back, and then Brunson, obviously the closer of all closers, with 25 points, but it felt like all of those were in clutch time. And OG with 28 points in the final, and he got hurt. So shout out OG. He played great in that game as well.
Yeah. And so looking at the box score, I want to touch something you mentioned earlier about Stephon Castle being the Spurs' second best player. I don't hate that take, but it's not one I agree with. I like the Rajon Rondo comparison, but to compare Stephon Castle to another player that's in the NBA, I see him very similarly to Amen Thompson. Maybe Castle's a little bit better of a playmaker and a little bit worse of a defender than Thompson, but I think the two players are very similar. Freak athletes who don't have much of a jump shot, but can get in the paint and can play make and set up their teammates. And I think a large part of the reason for Castle's success is because it is so easy to set up somebody like Wembanyama. You just have to throw the ball anywhere near the rim, and he'll be the only one to be able to go get it. And that's a large part of the reason for his success. Now, I'm not discrediting that. I mean, Wemby's rookie year, nobody could get him the ball, right? So it does take some area of expertise and some chemistry building to be able to have the two-man game that Castle and Wemby have. But in terms of their second best player, I think his offensive game is still too limited to fully call him that. I think when the Spurs are in need of a bucket, that they are going to give it to De'Aaron Fox instead of Stephon Castle. Fox, yes, he is more prone to turnovers. He is more prone to, keeping the ball for himself and looking for his own scoring opportunities. But that's what the Spurs needed. They had the playmaker in Castle. They needed a bucket. They needed somebody who was able to give the ball on an isolation possession and say, we need a bucket. They're doubling Wemby. Help us out. Stephon Castle cannot do that at this point in his career. Dylan Harper cannot do that at this point in his career. Sochan has never shown the ability to do that. Barnes is a 3-and-D guy. They needed another isolation score for when teams center in on Wemby, and that is what Fox provides. So, yes, Castle does do more on the court for the Spurs than what Fox does, but I think Fox plays a much more crucial role, and I think because of that, he's a much more important player for the Spurs.
Interesting. I agree with you to an extent. I agree that he's the better scorer, absolutely. But when I look at who's better for a team, I look at how influential they are. And I think that if you took De'Aaron Fox off the Spurs, they'd be a lot better than if you took Stephon Castle off the Spurs. And that's kind of where I think my head goes to in evaluating a player's success. I think of a lot of, same thing with Aaron Gordon on the Nuggets. I don't know if he's been their third best player, but they've had guys on that roster that are just as good as him, if not more talented. I would consider Michael Porter Jr. on that championship team better than Aaron Gordon, but I would still consider Aaron Gordon the third best player on the Nuggets. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Very similar situation here. Fox obviously scores more points. He's the better scorer. He's the better shooter. I'm not denying any of that. And he's an all-star in his own right. But I think that if you took Castle off the Spurs, they would not be better than if you took De'Aaron Fox off the Spurs.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Michael Porter Jr. right now, he's on the Brooklyn Nets, and he's averaging 25 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, 3 assists. Aaron Gordon, in his best years as the number one option, was still not even close to those numbers. So, yes, Michael Porter is a better objective player than Aaron Gordon. But when they were both on the Nuggets, the role Aaron Gordon played was much more important than the role Michael Porter played. So because of that, it made Aaron Gordon much more valuable and therefore the third best player on the team. So I do see that with Castle and Fox. I just don't know if Castle's polished enough yet to call him that, because he does still have his games where he's inefficient. He doesn't turn the ball over, which is great for a young guard. That is what you want to see. But his shot is he's still searching for it. Anything outside, the mid-range and the three-pointer are still not there. It's not like you can give the ball to Stephon Castle and be like, hey, we need you to go get a bucket. It's not as reliable as De'Aaron Fox. And I think at this point, the Spurs have more of an abundance on playmaking than they do scoring. I just think what Fox provides, the Spurs have less of than what Castle provides.
Yeah, I get that. And again, the season will determine how good these guys are, because they're going to need them. Teams are going to be focusing on Wemby all 82 games plus playoffs. Mm-hmm. So we'll find out how good the backcourt is. And I think it's the best backcourt in the league from a collective unit in starters and bench. I think it's the best backcourt in the league. I'm not kidding. When you
Can you
combine
repeat that, please?
when you combine guys that play like 15 minutes a night, 10 to 15 minutes a night, I'm talking bench and starters. The Spurs
Luka
combination,
Doncic, Austin Reeves.
they play no defense. They play no
It
defense.
doesn't because they average 80 points together. They don't need to play
No,
any defense. They
the
average
combination
80.
of I would rather have Fox, Castle, Dylan Harper, and Devin Vassell on my team. All four of them. I would rather have all four of those guys than Luka and Austin Reeves.
No, that's crazy. That's a little crazy. I'm sorry, that's crazy.
What?
You would rather have the four. I would not trade the four of those players for Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves straight up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't do that either. I would not do that either. I would keep
No,
the
if
four.
if I was the Lakers, I would not. I would not give up Luka and Reeves for those four players.
I would.
Okay, agree to disagree. I
Also,
do
okay,
not think-
Luka and Austin Reeves
Okay,
play
I will
no
say-
defense. They play no defense.
Okay, I will say, I thought that was an absurd take at first. Thinking about it, I was like, yeah, there are less than I thought. I would take that foursome over a lot of other foursomes. That's not as absurd of a take as I thought it was initially. But to say it's the best is still a bit much. It's still a bit much.
They just come at you with so many different like energies and skill sets. Like there's no
Okay.
one
Shea
size.
Caruso, AJ Mitchell, and Aaron Wiggins. I would take that foursome over the Spurs foursome.
Yeah, it's so top heavy though. Those foursomes are so top heavy. Like that's all I'm saying.
What?
Is
I would take AJ Mitchell over Devin Vassell right now.
that's crazy. No, you would not.
That's not. I would. AJ Mitchell is.
This
good.
is what you remember how you said earlier that you've been over evaluating the Thunder's bench? That's what you're doing right
Okay.
now. That's what you're doing. AJ Mitchell would not be doing what he's doing in the Spurs starting lineup. Stop that. Devin Vassell is better
He's a
than
shooter. He would play the exact same role that he's playing on the Thunder right now. He would
Devin
play the
Vass-
exact same role, and he would thrive.
Devin Vassell is better than AJ Mitchell. Let's not.
AJ Mitchell is a future All-Star. Let me put this
Okay.
out right now. AJ Mitchell is going to be so good. He is already good, but he is going to be a star in this league.
I don't know. about that.
I would take him over
future
Devin Vassell.
future six man, yeah. Future all star. I don't know.
Future All-Star.
He seems like he seems like the next Lou
Put
Williams.
Hoover's Lounge certification on it.
No, that's not a thing, and then it's not gonna start now. There's no way. There's no way. All right, we'll talk about this later.
Yeah, we got to move on because we got an exciting slate of NBA Christmas games coming up this Thursday. Christmas is, of course, the favorite holiday of many around, and it has become the day of NBA. It has become a tradition for the best teams around the league on Christmas to pair off, and the matchups this year are as exciting as ever. We have the Cavaliers Knicks, who were among the top two preseason teams in the Eastern Conference. We have the Wemby-Chet rivalry getting another chapter with the Spurs Thunder matching up. We have Cooper Flag and Steph Curry matching up, the Mavericks and Warriors. We have KD and LeBron going at it potentially for the final time on Christmas as the Rockets travel to LA. And last but not least, a rematch of the 2024 Western Conference Finals with the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. It should be 5 incredible games. The atmospheres of those games should all be awesome. And we're going to go through each of those 5 games and give a little preview, give a little prediction, let you guys know what you should be expecting, what to watch for in these games. So we'll start off with the first one of the day. Cavs-Knicks tips off at noon. Max, what are you looking for in this game? What are the big matchups?
Yeah. One thing I want to say, the NBA knew what they were doing by scheduling 4 of the 5 games to be in the feature Western Conference matchups. They knew what they were doing.
True.
Just going to say that. But this first game, Cavs-Knicks, is a really good one. I'm really excited to see how the bench of the Knicks plays. I mentioned it earlier. Do they continue this momentum? Does Tyler Kolek and Jordan Clarkson play well? Mitchell Robinson. We haven't mentioned Mitchell Robinson, by the way. He's been amazing for them this year. That game against Philadelphia the other night, he blocked like Edgecombe like 3 times in a row. That was a crazy sequence. So I've really been liking what they've been doing. The Knicks are one of the best rebounding teams in the league. I expect them to beat Cleveland because, like you said, Cleveland, I just don't know what they are, really. They have no identity. It feels like they are the Knicks of the last couple years where they just expect their starting five to do everything and just make plays and win games. They have no identity. They don't do anything like great. They just do a lot of things really well. And when you're playing a team that does things great like the Knicks, they're a great rebounding team, great defensive team, great closer in Jalen Brunson. Like, I really think the Knicks are going to win this game, not easily, but I think they'll take care of business at home. So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah. It's like the Knicks last year, the Cavs of this year, and vice versa. The Cavs of last year are the Knicks of this year. Because the Cavs last year, when they won 64 regular season games, they were great at rebounding and they were great at interior defense. Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen were among the best front courts in the league, if not the very best. And this team overall was young, right? Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Mobley, Allen are still all under 30 years old. So I thought in the offseason that this team was going to be taking a huge step forward this year, building off that 64-win regular season and emerge as an Eastern Conference contender. The Cavs right now are one game over 500, and we're 30 games into the year. They have looked like a shell of the team last year. I mean, and this is with Mitchell averaging like over 30 points a game, having a career best year. And yet the Cavs are still significantly worse. Mobley has taken a step back offensively. Allen has taken a step back defensively. Darius Garland has taken a step back in every single way. And the Cavs' depth, which was so strong last year and got even stronger with the acquisition of DeAndre Hunter, has not been good. It is confusing because these are all strengths of the team last year. Interior defense, rebounding, depth. So I don't understand. And they didn't really lose any critical pieces in the offseason. So I don't understand how this team got so much worse overnight. I don't understand. Looking at the injury report, Donovan Mitchell is day-to-day. So he is questionable for this game with an illness. He should play. I doubt an illness is going to keep one of the league's premier stars out on Christmas Day. But that's something to keep an eye on. And speaking about the Cavs' depth, Larry Nance Jr., Max Strus, and Sam Merrill are all already out. And on the Knicks side, Deuce McBride and Landry Shamet will both be missing the game with their own respective injuries. In terms of the predictions, the game is at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks are favored by 5.5 points, and I don't think it's going to be that close. I think the Knicks are going to be winning by double digits.
Yeah, completely agree with that. All right, let's move on to the next game, the rematch of all rematches, which actually takes place tomorrow. These two teams play on Tuesday before Christmas, and then they play on Christmas.
Interesting.
So this is really not the rematch of the rematch. This is the rematch of the rematch of the rematch.
It's like Star Wars, like Return of the Jedi Part 2. And Part 3 is going to be on Christmas.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. This Thunder right now, I'm looking at it, they are at home against the Spurs here on Christmas Day. They're favored by 10.5 points. I think this is a total revenge game spot for Oklahoma City. I think to some extent, them losing to Minnesota fueled the fire even more. I think they're going to look forward to proving again that they are the best team in the league, and I expect them to beat the Spurs. I think Chet is going to have a much better game. He will have a much better time against Wembanyama than the first time around. Wemby will play more in this game. He will play more minutes than he did in the first one, but I still think the Thunder are going to find a way to win. 10.5 is a lot of points, but I could see them winning this game by 15. So I'm gonna take the Thunder at home to get revenge. But the Spurs, they get under your skin, and I think they did that a little bit against the Thunder in the in-season tournament. So this game will be very interesting to watch.
Well, Chet is currently on the injury report with a back injury. He's listed as out with an expected return date of December 23rd. So he is likely to miss the Thunder's game, the first game, the rematch of the rematch. But the rematch of the rematch of the rematch, he's going to be there for. We hope. We can hope and pray. But I think the Chet Wemby rivalry is one of the, I guess, in terms of the new era NBA players, it's one of the better rivalries. It's something that even casual NBA fans know about and want to tune in to watch. So it's going to draw a lot of eyes just to see those two go at it, assuming Chet can play. And with the history that these two teams have, I don't think that this game is ever going to be really a blowout. I think that The Spurs are always going to come in with a chip on their shoulder against the Thunder, and vice versa. The Thunder are always going to come with a chip on their shoulder against the Spurs. The Thunder might have an extra little fuel to the fire because, like you said, they lost twice, and one of those losses was against the Spurs in the in-season tournament. So that revenge factor might give them that extra drive. But I still think this will be the best game of the 5-game Christmas slate. I think the Thunder and the Spurs are almost destined for classics whenever they match up. I think Wemby and Chet will have multiple highlight level plays against each other that will go viral, and I think the Thunder will escape with a tightly contested win against the San Antonio Spurs. But I would bet the Spurs to cover that 10.5-point spread.
All right, good to know for all those sports betting people out there. Next game up, the Mavs and the Warriors, probably the least anticipated game of the 5, I would say, just based on how the Mavericks and Warriors have performed so far this year. I like the Warriors to win. However, I expect Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis to absolutely put on a show on Christmas Day. I think this game will be close. The Warriors are favored by 7.5. If we're getting into betting, I'd probably bet Dallas plus 7.5. I think this game will be close, competitive. They're a well-coached team. And the Warriors right now are just so back and forth. They don't know how to blow people out. They either win close games or they lose close games. It feels like Steph and Jimmy are just keeping them in every game. And then it just depends who they're playing against as to if they're going to win it at the end. I like the Warriors to win a real close one here against Dallas. Steph probably goes for 40. Flagg probably goes for 25 to 30. And we have just an instant classic between two really good players, I think.
So after Dallas' slow start to the season, they haven't turned it around, but they're kind of emerging back into respectability territory, and that has come with the emergence of Cooper Flagg, who has re-cemented himself as the favorite for Rookie of the Year. He has been balling out. A few games ago, he became the youngest player ever to drop 40 points in an NBA game. So, yeah, I mean, after that, dude's got to be the favorite for Rookie of the Year. I'll tip my hat where credit is due. Flagg's and ballin'. With that being said, though, the Golden State Warriors, the issues I have with them in the offseason are coming into play. You have Stephen Curry, you have Jimmy Butler, you have Horford, you have a very, very old core. And this very, very old core is not going to be able to carry you to a strong regular season. They're going to have their inconsistencies. They're going to have their game that they missed due to injury. And because of that, you're not going to have a high seed in the playoffs. You're going to be stuck going against the 1 or the 2 seed in the first round, one of the best teams in the West, without home court advantage. I don't think the Warriors are the 8th best team in the West. I think they're much better than that. But with the aging roster that they have, I don't think they're going to have the regular season success in order to have the playoff success they want to. On that note, never mind. Well, I thought that was Steph Curry. I forgot they signed Seth Curry. Seth Curry is out for the Christmas game. Steph Curry will be playing. So I was about to factor that into my predictions. That doesn't matter. And Derek Lively, a few days ago, was unfortunately ruled out for the remainder of the season due to a foot injury. So that should be hurting the Mavericks' big man depth. I was about to pick the Mavericks because I thought Steph was out. Now that I'm realizing that it's Seth, I don't think the Warriors are going to be losing. I will be picking the Warriors to win this game. I don't love this matchup. I think there could have been a much better storyline if they were to match up the Mavericks against the Lakers or the Warriors against somebody like the Rockets, who they eliminated from the playoffs last year. I think there could have been a much better storyline if you were to swap those two matchups around. But, I mean, it's Christmas basketball. I'm not going to complain. Cooper Flagg versus Steph Curry will still be entertaining for everybody to watch.
Yeah, and I think Dallas, with their record, doesn't get a lot of primetime national games. I think this is going to be an opportunity where you just see Cooper Flagg absolutely ball out. He's going to be the second best player on the court behind Steph Curry on Christmas Day, I think, with his performance. And I'm excited to watch him play. As for the Warriors, like you mentioned about them not being the 8th best team in the West, I completely agree. And Jonathan Kuminga, we've been mentioning him all throughout the season. He's been a DMP for like the last week. He is 110% getting traded at the deadline, and I'm very interested to see who the Warriors get in return for Jonathan Kuminga. Best case scenario, I think, is Giannis. Worst case scenario, I think, is like, I don't know, Kobe White. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the worst. I really want us to get a guy like Zach LaVine. That's kind of like where I want us to aim, but But if we packaged Kuminga and a bunch of other stuff for Giannis, I think that is most definitely best case scenario. So that's just something to keep an eye on with the Warriors as well, as they try to improve upon their regular season seeding. Moving on to the next game, and I think this personally will be the best game of the 5. Rockets-Lakers, instant classic between KD and LeBron. And it's going to be sad seeing KD and LeBron go at it, not being the number one options on their team. It's going to be really sad watching Şengün and Luka go at it while LeBron and KD stand in the corner. That's going to just look really weird to me. I like Houston to win this game on the road. I think the defense and the length will really cause problems for Doncic and Reeves in particular. I expect it to be close, back and forth, but I think the Rockets are going to make a few more plays on the defensive end than the Lakers, and that's going to be the difference. So give me the Rockets on the road to beat the Lakers.
All right, this is going to be the first game we disagree on because I'm going to pick the Lakers, despite them being 2.5-point underdogs, to outright win against the Rockets. Like you said, it is going to be weird seeing two of our childhood icons in Kevin Durant and LeBron not serve as the focal points in their team. But these are two of the greatest players in NBA history, and I'll be damned if they take a back seat on national television on Christmas Day. KD and LeBron are still going to show out. Yes, Şengün and Luka might be the first options, but they're not really going to be the first options. The fans are there to see KD and LeBron. Everyone knows that, and the two are going to show out. It's on national television. It's prime time. It's Christmas. The two want to show out. They are legends of the game. They take pride in their craft. They're going to want to show out. I expect both of them to have outstanding games, KD and LeBron. I've been picking the Lakers to win for one reason and one reason only, and that is Dorian Finney-Smith is out on the Rockets, and the Lakers are fully healthy. And other than that, I think the two teams are going to match up essentially evenly. So I'm just going to be picking the healthier team, the team that's at home, the team that has a player averaging damn near 40 points a game in Luka Doncic. So give me the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, like you said, we disagree on this one, and this is another opportunity for someone like Amen Thompson on national television to show just how good he is. I think he's going to take that challenge defensively, and I think he's going to contain Luka enough so that they can win. He's not going to stop Luka because there is no stopping Luka. But Luka, I think, will have a very inefficient 30 bomb probably on Christmas.
All right, let's get into the last game. We have Timberwolves Nuggets, and we spoke about Wemby and Chet as one of the exciting rivalries. Anthony Jokic has also been kind of up there as a sneaky rivalry with the Timberwolves eliminating the Nuggets 2 years ago in their playoff run. So Timberwolves Nuggets, there's a little bit of history there. The two teams have very similar records. Denver at 20-7, Minnesota at 19-10. Denver at home enters the game as 4.5-point favorites, and Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon will both be out for this game. Neither of them will be returning from their injuries. So the Nuggets enter a little bit beat up. The Timberwolves are completely healthy. Max, with that being said, what do you think is going to happen with this game?
Yeah, I'm picking Denver on the sure fact that, one, they're at home, but two, Jokic owns Gobert. Like, it's not even close when these two match up. Like, Rudy Gobert cannot guard Nikola Jokic to save his life, and Jokic is probably going to have a 30-point triple-double in this game. I liked what you said about Ant and Jokic about this rivalry. I feel like because of Ant's really aggressive personality and his love of the game and his love to trash talk, I feel like he has a rivalry with just about everybody in the Western Conference, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, he has a rivalry with the Thunder. He has a rivalry with Dallas. He has a rivalry with the Warriors. He has a rivalry with the Lakers.
KD.
He has a rivalry with KD. He has a rivalry with Jokic. Like, he has a rivalry with just about every team in the West that contends on a yearly basis. And so
that's what makes him so fun to watch.
It's amazing, yes. Like, any game, he's going to talk trash to you, whether you're his best friend or his worst enemy. He does not care. He will talk trash, and he will give you a nice 30-piece. But I just like Denver's team better than Minnesota's right now. Minnesota, I think, also just used a lot of energy and a lot of passion to beat Oklahoma City a couple of days ago. I think they'll be burnt out going into the altitude on Christmas. So, like I said, I think all these games are going to be close. This is a really good NBA Christmas slate. One of the better ones I can remember in a long time. But give me the best player in the world at home on national television against a guy who historically can't guard him.
Yeah, Jokic takes one look at Rudy Gobert and sees barbecue chicken. And Jokic, he said 30-point triple double. That's like bare minimum. Jokic could drive a 50-point triple double, and I'd be like, yeah, that was expected. No surprise there. Gobert was guarding him, right? And so I'm not about to sit here and pick against the best player in the world when I'm expecting the best player in the world to have an absolutely incredible game. Yes, Aaron Gordon being out and Christian Brown being out, that hurts the depth. It will force Jokic to carry a bit more of the scoring load. But it's Nikola Jokic, man. If there's anybody in the league capable of handling a bigger load, it's Jokic. Give me the Nuggets, and I would take the Nuggets to cover that 4.5-point spread.
Yeah. One more thing on the Nuggets before we get to our closing segment here. A guy who I would expect to step up without Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown is Cam Johnson. I've been kind of disappointed with him so far this year. I feel like he has not been as good as I thought he would be on Denver. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that take, that he could be playing a lot better for them.
Well, statistically, he has taken a decline, but that was always going to happen. He went from maybe option 1B on the Nets to the fourth or fifth option on the Nuggets. So a statistical decline was always going to be expected with Cam Johnson. But that statistical decline was also supposed to be impaired with increased efficiency. Cam Johnson was supposed to get more open looks, was supposed to convert more of these open looks. He's getting great looks. He's getting more open three-pointers than he ever has in his career. But he's not making them. He's shooting, I think, a career worst percentage from three-pointers since his rookie year with the Phoenix Suns. And the Nuggets gave up, well, Michael Porter Jr., I'm sure they were happy to get off that contract at the end of the day, but the Nuggets also gave up an unprotected first-rounder. That's not no small asset for Cam Johnson, who is also making max contract money. And the Nuggets are not getting what they expected from Cam Johnson, who a lot of us were calling the most underrated offseason acquisition for any contending team. A lot of us thought very highly of the Cam Johnson trade, us included. Now, the Nuggets' other Valanciunas specifically has been great in terms of a backup center for Jokic. That has been a godsend for the Nuggets. And Tim Hardaway Jr. has been a strong six-man who can make his catch and shoot threes. So the other acquisitions the Nuggets got have paired out. But for the Nuggets to contend and for them to be able to compete against the Thunder in the playoffs like we predicted them to do, they're going to need Cam Johnson to step up and make shots like Michael Porter Jr. did during their championship run.
Yeah, and that's kind of the guy I was comparing him to, was Michael Porter Jr. That was kind of the role I thought they would slide him into, and I just think Michael Porter was better for the Nuggets than Cam Johnson up to this point, but only time will tell. Like we said, I thought Denver had the best offseason of any team, and Cam Johnson was a big part of that. So we'll just see if he can improve upon his early season struggles.
I do think they were a bit hasty to move on from Porter Jr., though. Yes, he struggled immensely during the playoffs, but he was also battling a shoulder injury all year that was clearly affecting his ability to make shots. Healthy Michael Porter Jr. is showing on the Nets that he is still a walking bucket, and I think he would be able to still serve that role better than Cam Johnson was. So as of right now, I am willing to say that this trade was a loss for the Denver Nuggets. I think they were too quick to move on a player who was fighting through injury to be able to try and help his team win. And he was just slandered by fans of the Denver Nuggets and by NBA fans in general for his postseason performance. And I don't think that was entirely his fault.
Yeah, I completely agree. And he's proving this year that he's one of the best shooters in the league. That guy has a sliver of space. It's going up and it's probably going in. So good for him for showing out in Brooklyn. All right, let's wrap up today's episode with a little blind ranking. So I've got 5 Christmas movies here for Alex, just 5 today. I assume that Alex has watched all 5 of these movies. If he has not watched all 5 of these movies, I will be slightly disappointed. As will you watching probably. So, Alex, do you have any questions? Comments, concerns?
I think you'll be surprised on the amount of Christmas movies that I have not seen. With that being said, let's hope I've seen all of these, because if I haven't, this is going to make this a kind of difficult ranking.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that you've seen these. And first movie here is an instant classic, Home Alone.
We're starting off with a banger. Wow. Home Alone, I think, is an objective top 3 Christmas movie of all time. and you could very well make a case for it to be the best. It has a GOAT case. I mean, it's Home Alone. It's a classic. It's something we watch every single year. He shows up year in and year out. You know, he's consistent. But I think there are some other movies that just have a higher ceiling, and I expect you're saying there are movies that I have seen. My favorite Christmas movie of all time is like almost the Christmas comedy movie. So I'm expecting it to be there. So I'm gonna put Home Alone at 2 because I'm expecting one movie to be in this list, and if it isn't there, then I've butchered these rankings. But
all right,
we'll put Home Alone at 2.
I love Home Alone. It's my personal favorite. It gets me every time. It's such a good laugh. Like you said, it's consistent. Like you put on Home Alone, you know exactly what you're gonna get, and it delivers every single time. So I'm not mad about a top 2 ranking for that movie at all.
Yeah, Shea Gillis-Alexander, you get 30 points a night from it every night.
Yeah, easy. And Home Alone does not foul bait. For those that are curious, does not foul bait.
Okay, neither does Shea. We need to drop that narrative in this podcast.
That is an ethical movie right there. Home Alone is an ethical movie right there. All right, that they do not foul bait. Sure. Next up, we have one of Will Ferrell's most known movies, Elf.
That is what I was saving for number 1. Put it at 1. That is my favorite Christmas movie of all time. Elf is my GOAT, and I mean, I don't think there's any way you can go wrong with Elf. The story is incredible. The acting is incredible. Hilarious. Had me laughing out of my seat the first time I watched it. I mean, Elf is like prime Giannis, man. Elf just makes me happy. He's my GOAT.
I love the movie to NBA comparisons we're doing here. That is great. I'm interested to see the comparison for this one because next up we have a great movie, one of the more underrated Christmas movies, I think, and that's The Grinch.
Now, we got which one is it? Is this the animated Grinch? Is this the live action Grinch?
I'm going to let you choose.
Cumberbatch's Grinch?
I'm going to let you choose.
Okay. Unpopular opinion. I have never been a fan of the Grinch. I think the Grinch has been historically overrated. I'm gonna go with the animated version with this. But I think the nostalgia factor almost makes the Grinch seem better than he really was in a way. NBA comparison, I would say Magic Johnson. Great, yes, objectively great, but I think the nostalgia of Magic Johnson kind of makes us look back and realize and think that he's better than he was when Magic Johnson never averaged more than 20 points a game throughout his NBA career. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton has more impressive statistics than Magic Johnson does. So, I think Grinch be in the overrated category. I think we're gonna put it down at 5. You know, I think we're gonna get 2 movies that are better than the Grinch.
Oh my!
We're gonna put it at 5.
All right, I don't agree with that it's that overrated. I do think that I would have it, you know, in all-time movies. I think it's of Christmas movies. I think it's down there for me as well, but I still think it's a little underrated. Overrated is crazy. I feel like people do not give that movie the love. I've never been
a fan of the Grinch.
All right.
I think people give it too much love.
Okay, all right. Agree to disagree on that one. Next up, we have another classic, another just good laugh, and that's Christmas Vacation. What a banger that is.
Well, if I were to compare this to an NBA player, this would be Bob Pettit, because those are 2 players I have never seen in my life. I have never seen Bob Pettit play basketball, and I have never seen Christmas Vacation. So, with that being said, let's put it in the middle of the pack at 3.
All right, I am challenging you before our next episode to watch Christmas Vacation. That is my
okay.
Before we record our next episode, that is what I want you to do. It is a hilariously good film.
Now.
It is hilariously good. All right, where'd you put that? 3 or 4?
Put it at 3 because
3. Okay.
I don't know. We're gonna assume whatever this last movie is worse than Christmas Vacation.
All right, I would agree with that take because at 4 you have a movie I feel like we watched in school every year, Polar Express. We'll slot in at 4.
Oh my God! I wish I put that at 5. You know what? The Polar Express. If it was an NBA player, Draymond Green. You know why? I hate the Polar Express. I have such disdain for this movie. I am so sorry to the Grinch for disrespecting you by putting you below this atrocity of a film. Please forgive me, Grinch. Please don't steal my Christmas gifts. I am sorry. I did not mean it. God, this is 1 through 5, but I would like to rate the Polar Express at 10.
Oh my goodness, Alex, you hate that movie that much?
Every single person in that movie angers me beyond words. Every single person just pisses me off, man. I hate the Polar Express.
Wow, that is crazy. All right, well, we learned something about Alex today. He hates the Grinch, but he hates Polar Express more than the Grinch. That's for damn sure. Oh my God. That is crazy.
I don't even hate the Grinch. I just think it's overrated. Polar Express is terrible. Objectively terrible. I am such a that movie is among my biggest pet peeves.
Yeah, I feel like we always watched it in school too. Every year around Christmas time, they were like, "Let me just throw on the Polar Express."
Yeah, we'd have like our end of the year finals in elementary school, and like the last day of that last Friday before Christmas vacation, we would be in class with like pajama party with hot chocolate out, and the teacher would think she ate because she put on the Polar Express. And I'm miserable the entire time because I hate that movie. Man.
Yeah. Of the 5 movies, it's definitely the worst one of the 5 I gave you for me personally. So go watch Christmas Vacation. Give us a real NBA comparison next episode, and I think you'll be pleased because it is a great movie. It is a great movie.
It was great, you know.
Yeah, it is great, but you've never seen the movie. So once you've seen the movie, I need a new comparison.
Okay, all right. We can work with that. I got homework to do.
Yep. All right. Well, with that being said, guys, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We will see y'all after the Christmas Day games where we will be reviewing them. I expect these to be great games. And the NBA, again, I believe we're reaching around the midway point, close to it. I think a lot of teams have played in that 30 to 40 game range.
Most teams have played around 30 so far. So, yeah, we're about a little over 10 games away from the halfway point of the season. We're starting to get into the thick of things. It's starting to get real exciting. We're starting to talk about playoffs. We're starting to talk about all-stars. We're starting to talk about awards in a much more serious way. So basketball talk should only be getting more exciting as the year goes on.
Yeah, we're looking forward to bringing you guys all the content about the NBA season. And with the new year means March Madness is closer too. Can't wait for that. So we're very looking forward to that. So we'll talk to y'all after Christmas again. Happy holidays. Peace out.
Happy holidays to y'all. Peace.